Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and welcome to your weekly astrology horoscope or forecast. I put it as forecast on this one. Cosmic Convergence for Wednesday, October 16th through Tuesday, October 22nd of 2024. Appreciate you all joining me. Trusting you guys are having a wonderful week. It is hump day, which means it is time for another Cosmic Convergence. Although I've thought about switching the Cosmic Convergence to Monday because most people's schedule just in general runs from Monday to Sunday. So I've thought about switching it to Monday, but I don't know. I don't mind doing it on hump day. Anyways, I'm trusting you guys are having a wonderful day. It has been a little bit since I've seen you guys. I know I said I have some other video content that I want to make, and I do still want to do those. I'm more than likely, I'm thinking Saturday I might drop another video. There's a couple things I want to talk about. I kind of want to talk about Mars in Cancer. I kind of want to talk about this Pluto finishing up in Capricorn. Obviously, I think that's a really big one. So and also the Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So there's quite a few things I definitely do want to talk about and kind of go over with each of the 12 signs. Just know that those videos will come, probably the Pluto one sooner, just because that is the most, it's going to be the fastest one. Ironically, it's the outermost planet, but it is the one that's going to switch signs, going back into Aquarius sooner than the other two do anything. Jupiter is, of course, retrograde now, and Mars is moving very, very, very slow. So, kind of want to focus on the Pluto aspect of things. And Pluto and Gemini, or Pluto and Jupiter, kind of go hand in hand. Honestly, it's that whole flipping of the script that I talked about in last week's horoscope that I kind of want to go over for the 12 signs. And then Mars and Cancer, what I'm going to do for that one is, where are you throwing a temper tantrum right now in life? Because that's what Mars and Cancer is. It's throwing a massive temper tantrum. But in any event, that's just some of the stuff I want to eventually get to. But yeah, trusting you guys are having a wonderful day. We're going to hop into this week's horoscope. And we have an interesting one. It's the final week of Libra season, right? And it starts off with a pretty big bang. We have the full moon that's going to be happening in Aries. This will be happening tomorrow, though, on Thursday. It's going to be happening at 24 degrees. And the week ends with a grand water trine, which is actually pretty interesting. And of course, the sun shifting into Scorpio. So it's going to be Scorpio season, which is my season. I am your fellow resident Scorpio, 24 degrees sun. And so, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting week. I think this week is going to be a bit of a challenge. But I think there's also going to be a great opportunity for healing, especially culminating and converging into that grand water trine that we're going to be seeing at the end of all this. That grand water trine, of course, we're going to mainly be seeing, it's going to be the moon that's going to be involved. It's going to be, I think was it Venus or Mercury that's going to be involved? I think it's Mercury. No, it's Venus. Venus is there. Mercury's going to be involved in that. No, it is Venus. Excuse me. It is Venus. But we are going to see a grand trine here at the end of the week. And that's going to be a pretty big deal, actually. It's going to be Mercury and Neptune. That's what it is. It's Mercury and Neptune. I was trying to figure out, I was like, which ones is it? It's Mercury, Neptune, and the moon. That's what it is. So let's go ahead and hop in. Actually, no, I wasn't looking at Neptune. I'm looking at my notes and stuff like that. I guess Mercury is moving that fast. How fast is Mercury moving? Mercury's moving at okay. Anyways, we'll get to it and stuff. I wrote down all my notes last night and stuff. So in any event, I've termed this the week of acceptance. It's the final week of Libra season. I have our dude here with his dragon feather in the back. And there's a cleric here, and she's providing some healing magic for him. There's also this other random dude off in the background. Haven't figured out his story yet, but he looks like he's kind of done, right? When I was looking at the chances for this week, and I was trying to figure out, all right, what is it that everyone's going through? Honestly, if you watched last week's video and you saw how essentially they're gearing up for battle, getting ready to go into this castle that you see here, right? I'm feeling like this is the week where everybody gets bodied. Like, if the castle has multiple levels and then like on the top level is like the boss, whatever like that, maybe there's like 20 levels, or let's just say 30 levels, right? Let's just say 30 levels, like as in like the degrees of a sign. And on that top level is Pluto, right? It is Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn. That is literally the top of the tower, right? And that is the final boss. And this is the thing that we are all having to face right now. I feel like this is going to be the week where, or last week into this week, is the week where we're kind of going through this castle and going up the levels. And then we get to that last level and we get absolutely bodied. And that is a video game term for essentially we get worked, we get destroyed, we lose the battle. Now, losing the battle doesn't mean that it's game over. It just means that we have to go back to the drawing board a little bit, get some healing. And this is about acceptance. It's not about losing. This is not about, it's over or it's done. This is about accepting the changes and accepting the transformation. That's what this is really about. I think we're going to see a lot of people go into this week, and really honestly even going forward. It starts this week. And a lot of this also has to do with the fact that we have the Sun in Libra that will square Pluto in Capricorn for the last time in all of our lives. We will never see that happen again. Unless you live for 240 years, you will never see that. So that's a major square between the Sun in its fall position, right? Getting ready to go into Scorpio, which Pluto, of course, is the ruler of. That is, and it's 29 degrees, so it's going to make it very, very edgy, right? So we are at the we are at the precipice of massive, massive societal changes. And this acceptance is us coming into the realization that we are not perfect, okay? We're going to make mistakes. Sometimes we mess up. Sometimes we take L's. Sometimes we're not as strong as we think we are. But sometimes we are stronger than we give ourselves credit for. Sometimes it's okay to admit fault. Sometimes it is okay to admit if we are not strong enough in the moment, right? I think that's the thing about this. It's like in a video game, you don't just always battle and always win every single battle. You're going to lose some battles, but that doesn't mean that the game is over unless you rage quit and you just completely give up. So if we think of life as a video game, what this week is us going into that final boss chamber, us losing to that boss, and then we're having to kind of restart or respawn, not all the way from the beginning. We're not restarting all the way from the beginning, but hopefully you saved your progress before going into that boss battle. And just being real, hopefully you saved your progress, or maybe there's an autosave feature, right? Life has an autosave feature, so I think we're all good. So that's kind of the blessing with a week like this, and I'm using a lot of video game terms, and hopefully you guys can understand that, my metaphors and shit. But there's an autosave feature, so we saved right before going to this boss battle. Pluto worked us, destroyed us, and now we have to transform. Now we have to accept this healing and realize that, okay, maybe I gotta go back to the drawing board. Maybe I gotta tackle that thing a little bit differently. Maybe I have to go about that from a different angle. Maybe I have to come up with a different strategy, That's another thing about Capricorn. It is about strategy, Capricorn is the strategist. It's the commander, if you will, right? So, well, I guess you could say Virgo is the strategist and Capricorn is the commander, but you could still say that there's an element of strategy to Capricorn energy too. I mean, they are both earth signs, right? So this is definitely going to be the week where people are going to really try to push hard, and you're going to see people this week fail in probably the biggest ways ever. And how they respond to these failures is going to really tell you everything that you need to know. It's going to tell you whether or not this person can accept the path that's been laid out for them by God. Because that's really what I feel like it comes down to. This is a week of acceptance. This is a week of accepting where we are right now in our life and where we have come to. The people that can accept it are going to be the ones that can more quickly transform, move on, and create the positive changes in their life and really experience life to the fullest, like it was intended. Those who have the inability to accept where they currently are in their life are going to be the ones that are constantly trying to live in the past and will never get over and will continue to get bodied by this Pluto. And when it goes into Aquarius, it's even going to be harder for them, because Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for 20 years. So you got to think over the last 16 years with Pluto and Capricorn. What have you learned with this? And what is Capricorn? Work, career, legacy, how we build things. It's the sign of adulting, growing up, maturation, responsibility. Where, and you, of course, you can look at where this is in your chart, but just even so, just we all have Capricorn energy. Whether you have a planet there or not, we all have Capricorn energy, or we all experience Capricorn energy. You have to look at the mundane everyday astrology too. So yeah, Pluto's going to be finishing up here in Capricorn. So that's where we are. So you have to look at the last 16 years with Pluto being here. What have been the lessons surrounding these topics? That is what we are coming face to face with. And I think, in a sense, we all kind of take an L, but I don't think the L's a bad L. Like I said, I think it's like you go into a video game, you go up against the boss, it's like a level 50 boss, and you're like level 45. And you're thinking that, okay, maybe I can beat him at level 45. No, you won't. You actually get worked. Okay? You put up a good fight, but it's not going to go according to plans. But once you respawn, and then it's like, okay, you're given another opportunity. That's what the whole retrograde was. This is sort of like the big test. Whenever a planet goes retrograde, it's the review period. And then when it comes forward, it's like the final exam. So this is like the final exams of all final exams, with Pluto finishing up here. So this is a big moment to accept. We have to accept that the first time that Pluto went through here, we got a grade, retrograded. Then it went into Aquarius again, and then it retrograded. And we got another grade. So this is our third time taking the test. This is our third time taking this particular test. You don't get these kind of opportunities. And to get this opportunity in this place in the zodiac is a massive deal. This is why you are seeing a lot of the political, socio-economical upheaval in the world. It's not just in one place, it's all over the place. This is why you're seeing it, because we are undergoing a massive test, and this is the final exam. This is the final exam, right? So, in this final exam, we're going to see it over the course of this Scorpio season. And it already started with Pluto coming direct, but it really, really kicks off now. So let's go ahead and hop into it. I want to scream and rage and freak out. I understand. If you have to get on a heavy bag or something like that, you might have to do that. I think a lot of people want to rage and scream. I think a lot of people want to freak out. And we're starting to see the freak out too. People are kind of losing it. I think a lot of that has to do with Neptune at the end of Pisces, to be fair. But I get it. I definitely get it. That's why I feel like this is a week. Because I didn't want to sugarcoat it for you guys. Like, I think that there are some beautiful, positive things with this week, but it's definitely massive transformation within ourselves, within our relationships, and especially our relationship to the collective and our relationship to these institutions that we have built via this Capricorn energy. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Now, for Wednesday, we really we're really not going to see a ton of stuff here. In fact, the main transit of the day on Wednesday has already passed. That was the moon conjuncting the north node and opposing the south node. As of right now, that moon is here at 12 degrees, and we are building up to that full moon, which will, of course, will apex on October 17th. So we can go ahead and take a look at that. Now, of course, before the moon even gets to that point, we are going to see it make a couple of aspects. It's going to make a nice little sextile over to Jupiter here at 21 degrees, while at the same time being conjunct with Chiron. So this is a very interesting energy here, right? Chiron and Aries, this is, of course, we're going to be feeling a lot more into our wounding, especially when it comes to our character and whether or not we can accept and embrace who we are. And Jupiter and Gemini here too. Remember, Jupiter is retrograde here, doesn't like to be here, and it's already offline, so we're not really feeling very fortunate. And I'm getting the image of someone like putting on different masks and trying to hide who they really are, trying to hide their emotions, trying to hide their scars from people, and trying to show that they are more, I guess you could say, either put together than they are, or trying to be something that they're not, just for the sake of fitting in. That's this moon conjunct Chiron sextile Jupiter, because while sextiles are positive transits, when you have a Chiron retrograde in Aries and you have a Jupiter retrograde that's in detriment in Gemini, that's not exactly an easy transit. It's not exactly positive. I think the most positive part of this aspect, leading up, of course, to this full moon, so this full moon is going to be conjunct this Chiron and sextiling this Jupiter, and I give it that degree of influence because it's the sun and Jupiter is the largest planet, so it's a 3-degree orbit. Even though it is turned off, we are definitely, this is going to be one of those things where it's like the wounds are going to be resonating. They're going to be a lot more powerful. Think of like the lightning bolt that Harry Potter has on his forehead, and Aries rules the head too. So that's another thing. It's like that scar is going to be burning and resonating a lot more, but it's going to be burning or resonating a lot more if you are not being true to who you are. If you're putting on masks, if you're trying to impress other people by trying to be someone that you're not, just because you think that's what people want from you, then that scar, metaphorically, is going to be burning, especially with a full moon too. So the full moon's already going to make everything hyperbolic. The moon's going to be pulling on everyone's emotions more. It's going to be full. It's going to be pulling on those emotions more. And it's in Aries. I would really be careful about going out on, this is going to be happening kind of earlier in the day. But I would just be wary if you happen to go out on Wednesday. This also can be dealing with traffic stuff too. I wouldn't be surprised because Jupiter is in Gemini, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if there are like delays with that sort of stuff. So I would say like when it comes to like, I would definitely say with Thursday morning, if you're going to work, leave early. Go into work on Thursday. Because it's going to be a little bit wild out there with that full moon in Aries, right? And because it is Aries, everyone's going to be a little bit more fired up too. We have to also consider that this moon is in square to Mars. It'll square Mars right before the full moon apexes as well. So that adds another whole element to this, where Mars, of course, in Cancer, like I said, this is like a temper tantrum, right? And it's just making the water hot, a lot more hot and steamy, if you will. And it's like I said, this is sort of like one of those moments where people are going to be boiling over a little bit. They're going to be boiling over. And especially, like I said, if you are not being true to who you really are and you're trying to be someone that you're not, with this moon on Chiron, full moon on Chiron, sextiling Jupiter and squaring Mars, that scar that you have, that wound, is going to be it's going to be burning, sizzling. Because generally when Harry Potter got that, it's because something bad was going to happen, or something, I guess you could say negative was going to happen, but it was always a sign for him. Sometimes you, and some, that's the weird thing too. Sometimes it may be interesting to kind of follow that to see if it picks up in intensity, because then that kind of lets you know, what needs to be addressed, right? So we all, I think, are going to have some type of scarring, some type of trauma, some type of wounding, especially when it comes to our character and who we are with that Aries energy and the actions that we take in our life. Is going to definitely be something that we're all going to experience. It's going to be much more inflamed, right? It's going to be much more inflamed. I think too, with the sextile to Jupiter and the square to Mars, people are going to be getting headaches. So definitely drink a lot of water on Thursday. Leave early for work because it's going to be massive traffic jams. I would not be surprised if there are like just insane traffic jams, and you want to just make sure that you leave early so you can get to work on time, right? So I know I ain't gonna have to. I can't even remember what store I work at tomorrow, but whatever store it is, it's probably going in the direction where there's a lot of traffic. So I'm definitely gonna have to take my advice and leave early because this is very gnarly. This 24 degrees. We also have to consider the fact that this is pretty close to where the new moon solar eclipse happened earlier in the year. That eclipse, I think, was at what, 19 degrees of Aries, at the exalted degree of the sun. So this is in many ways kind of wrapping up that. You know, that was a new moon. This is a full moon, so that's a 6-month cycle. And you have to kind of think back to that new moon solar eclipse too. Like, where were you? What were you doing? How were you experiencing it? You know, where were you, like, how have you kind of built yourself over this first half from Aries to Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and now we are going the second half, and we just finished that first block, that first piece of the pie of the second half in Libra. We are finishing up, so it's going to be sort of like, yeah, this sort of like, it's not a full circle moment, it's a 180 moment. So now we're kind of on the opposite side of that, and we can kind of look back. It's like, okay, so that's where I was at that point. This is where I am now, and maybe see how your life has changed since then. For me, how has my life changed? When the new moon was in Aries, I was still volunteering, but I was still a couple days a week working out of this little spiritual shop along with my day job, and I was doing readings for people there, astrology, tarot readings, and I watched the solar eclipse while I was there actually too. So it was pretty cool. I think it was because it was like on a Tuesday or something like that, and I was off. So as far as like my day job, I was just I would say I'm a glorified, you know, store associate, but I did everything from like store management to area management. But at that particular time, I didn't really have much of a title. I was just kind of working the store. I didn't really have expanded responsibilities at that time. Fast forward to now, the store that I was doing the readings out of closed, so they're no longer even there. And the person who was leading the Atlanta stores, we have 5 stores in Atlanta, for the CBD store that I work at, she doesn't work for the company anymore. She's a Libra too, 0 degree Libra. And I have stepped into that role. And I wasn't appointed there, I just stepped into it because I didn't see anyone else doing it. And my life is very different from then, you know? Even though a lot of the things are the same, it's very, very different. I have a lot more responsibilities. A lot more people like rely on me and stuff like that too. My phone rings a lot more, you know. And I even cut down on the amount of videos I was making too. So it's like a lot of things have changed and shifted. So you kind of have to look at like, where were you then? Where are you now? And like, you know, what's different? What's positive about it? Where do you maybe need to improve upon? But there's this Chiron element that is still here. The Chiron element is still there. For me, I think at least in that particular thing, I didn't know if I was capable to lead more than one store and be that central figure that people rely on. I didn't know if I could actually do that, partly because I don't know if I ever really wanted to do that growing up, or I just doubted myself for whatever reasons. And Fast forward to now, I'm doing it. It's not easy, but I'm doing it, you know? So it's like there were some insecurities there. And I think that this is going to be a full moon that's definitely going to prey on people's insecurities with that proximity to Chiron, but also, like I said, the square to the Mars in Cancer is going to be preying on people's insecurities. So let's read the degree of this full moon, actually. Um, 24 degrees. So let me go. Of course, I want to talk a little bit more about the full moon because it is a full moon. Obviously, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about, just it in general for people. So, let's see. I'm not Astro Gold, Google Chrome. All right, let's see. All right, I got Aries 24. All right. All right, cool. A double promise reveals its inner and outer meanings. Interesting. This symbol shows that at first that blah. This symbol shows that what at first appears to be may reveal itself to actually be something else. Simple promises can be more complicated than first thought. The rational and emotional responses can conflict with each other. One wants something, the other wants something else. However, this can be the way to really view things from the inner and outer perspective. Also indicates the choice that arises of the heart and of social obligation. Realize the implications of expectations and promises. There may be reward involved, promises, something that may look good on the outside but may have a different meaning on the inside. Look back to pledges made. Fickleness, insincerity, and two-facedness in human relationships. Promising more than can be delivered, not turning up, having hidden agendas. If this isn't like all over this whole political landscape right now in this country, I don't know what is. And trust me, this is probably going to come from both sides. I'm not going to say that this is going to come just from the Democrats or just from the Republicans, because that's the thing about it. Everyone's going to be convinced that the other side is going to be the one doing the double promises and not actually be able to provide what they said they're going to be able to provide, or it's going to come a lot slower. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of these retrograde planets. So it's like whatever changes people are saying that they're going to implement, it's not like they're going to happen immediately. We have all these retrograde planets. Pluto still needs to come into Aquarius. We don't know what they're going to be able to do ultimately, right? So I think that's the thing about this is that we have to be careful about the two-facedness. And I just talked about this too with this moon that's sextiling Jupiter as well on this day, and this full moon that's sextiling Jupiter, that there is going to be a bit of a two-facedness, like a bit of like you put one mask on when you're talking to this person, then one mask on when you're talking to that person, and you're telling them two diametrically opposed things. It's like that's the thing about this. You want to be careful about that, about promises that are being made that can't be fulfilled, right? Or half truths. This is definitely going to be a time for half truths. So just we need to be aware of that. I think it's good to have fresh perspective and be able to look at things from multiple angles. So the good thing about a transit like this is that this can definitely help you to broaden your horizons so you can see all of the different possibilities and not just be pigeonholed into looking at things in one way. But this also means that people can be susceptible to being taken advantage of and to being manipulated because they're being told one thing when really that is just a manipulation just to get you to side with them, right? So there's definitely going to be more to this than meets the eye, and we got to definitely make sure that we're being careful right now and much more discerning and, be able to see through the veil of people that are being two-faced with us. And this, like I said, doesn't necessarily have to be on the political scale, although it is on the political scale. That's how it's kind of playing out on a larger scale. But even in just like your everyday reality, just make sure that you are careful in this day for people that are going to try to play you like a fiddle, to be fair. But like I said, this can be a great opportunity for you to be able to see different sides of the equation, different sides of the same statue, and come to a more robust worldly view, if you will, or a more robust full view of a particular situation or circumstance, right? So, yeah, that's the full moon as far as that goes. Let me bring this back to Astro Gold and then do this for you guys. So now, and we could talk about just the full moon in general. Is exactly. So the full moon, of course, is the time we're going to be reacting and responding in more Aries-like ways. So it's going to be a little bit more impulsive. The moon and the Mars are dispositing each other. The moon would rather be where Mars is, and Mars rather be where the moon is. So if you can kind of get a handle on your emotions and not allow your emotions to completely whip you around, because the emotions are definitely going to be a lot more inflamed right now. People are going to be taking things a lot more to heart with that Mars and Cancer. People are going to be taking things, the people are going to definitely be wearing their emotions on their sleeves with this. But I think it's about, acknowledging the way that we feel, but also using that energy and channeling it into something that's going to be much more constructive, much more positive, instead of just blowing up on people and not giving them the opportunity to understand, right? So Aries, this has everything to do with you expressing who you are, right? You being you. A lot of your insecurities right now, a lot of your where you're kind of throwing the temper tantrum right now is in your fourth house. So it is like your day to day. It's not your day to day reality, but it's like your home. It's like your sanctuary. Where you find comfort. Aries, that's kind of where you're throwing your temper tantrums. I think it's like out in the public, you kind of put on that you are this brave, confident, you know, Aries that can just go get them and grab life by the horns. But in truth, when you go home, you kind of turn into a bit of a big baby, Aries, when you go home. So it's like, hey, or especially with like your parents or with your mom, you kind of turn into a big baby. So it's like, Aries, you're probably gonna, maybe having some therapy sessions with your mom and talking some things out and stuff. But like I said, you're having to release a lot of the insecurities and this worries about simply you being you and grabbing life by the horns. You this is you have to learn how to take your impulsive tendencies and channel it into some things like, how can I take that Aries power, that firepower, that spark, how can I take that and put it into something that's constructive and actually build something. So it's like Aries, you guys will start a lot of projects, but then you won't like finish them because you just like the initiation, like the spark of it, but it's about building and sustaining it. So that I think that's where the difficult part for you is like, how can you sustain what it is that you start, right? So Taurus, that full moon is happening in your 12th. Oh no, we'll go Pisces. We'll go. I like going around this way. So Pisces, this is happening in your second house. So you're definitely are dealing with a lot of insecurities when it comes to like your finances and your self worth. Pisces, you're trying to figure out even who you are. I'm just saying like that's the thing with this. It's like you may not necessarily know who you are right now. You definitely are very much so in your head about this too. Um, Especially with Chiron in the second house and it's Aries, so it's like yeah, you're very much so in your head about this. Um, this is about Pisces. You can't just run away and escape everything. You know what I'm saying? This Mars is in your fifth house, so that's dealing with romance and love. I feel like Pisces, there's probably someone that you have fallen deeply in love with, but you are afraid to like be a little bit more intimate and share that side with them. There may be an element too where you know you wonder if you're worth their time or if you're worthy enough for this person. So there's a self-esteem issue here, and you much rather just escape into your own little world and not even bother connecting. But that's not going to work here anymore, Pisces. It's not going to work for you to not connect to people. You can't just run away from love all the time. If you are in a relationship already, I would say that maybe this will give you an opportunity to deepen the love or deepen the understanding, but there's still a self-esteem issue here that you have to release and you have to finally confront, Pisces. A lot of this, Pisces, some of you guys, honestly, Pisces, a lot of you guys aren't really good with money. A lot of you guys can be very, very impulsive. Aries is your second house. Y'all can make very, very impulsive decisions and very impulsive buys. So there could be some trauma related to that where it's like you wonder, it's like maybe, especially if you're thinking about marrying somebody, and then yeah, that there's a lot that's involved there. You're wondering if you're even worthy enough or valuable enough to actually like be able to make the money to be able to buy the house and buy the things to be able to sustain the relationship, because money is a big part of it, obviously. But you have to kind of get out of your own head about it. And that's really what it comes down to, Pisces. You have to get out of your own head about it, and you can't just keep running away from it. Aquarius, this full moon's happening in your third house. You're definitely in your head a little bit more than Pisces. Pisces can kind of just escape things, but Aquarius, you are definitely in your head a lot more with this full moon in your third. Mars, of course, here is in your sixth house, right? So this has a lot to do with your day-to-day reality. And I think Aquarius, it's like, I think you feel like your day-to-day reality is about to shift. And it's like, maybe you're trying to, for you, it has to feel comfortable. That's the funny thing about Aquarius too, is that like they're not very emotional, or they don't show their emotions a lot, but their sixth house of day-to-day reality is Cancer. So it's like they have to feel comfortable in their jobs. They have to feel comfortable in the service that they give to people. They have to feel comfortable in their surroundings. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And this is why Aquariuses will just dip really fast, is because the moment that you're not really emotionally connecting to someone, or the moment that's not really comfortable for you, you will dip the fuck out. Like, that's the thing about this. So it's like, Aquarius, you kind of have to get out of your head a little bit. You have to stop playing mind games with yourself, and you have to realize that it doesn't have to be 100% comfortable. You don't need 100 pillows, to feel comfortable. Like it sometimes there's going to be some challenges when it comes to that space. I think another thing about Aquarius too is that a lot of times you guys will find your sanctuary in your job, and I think you have to. Some of you guys are going to be looking at your jobs and what you do for a living and asking yourself, is this really the place I want to be? Can I connect with these people? And Mars, like I said, is in your sixth house too. So it's like, I would just say be careful about, arguments with people at work. I would be careful about getting involved with unnecessary drama at work too, because you don't really want to bring that kind of stuff. But Aquarius, you're definitely in your head, and I feel like you definitely need to just make a decision and commit to something too, and take some action. Third house, sixth house aspects as far as this goes, it's like, yeah, you're very much so just kind of in your head. You have to release some of these self-limiting beliefs that you have about who you are and who you can be in this world. Because Aquarius, you haven't really been fully yourself. No Aquarius has been fully themselves. So Capricorn, this full moon is happening in your fourth house, and of course squaring that Mars over there in your seventh. Yeah, Capricorn, there is definitely some stuff that's going on in the home. I would say more so though, because this is Aries too, more things so in your childhood. And with Pluto, of course, in your first house, you have had to completely revamp who you are over the last 16 years, right? More so than any other sign. Capricorn, you are doing a lot of childhood work. You are having to work through a lot of the pains in your childhood that are still affecting you to today. And these things are having an impact on your relationships. Cancer is your seventh house. So Capricorn, this is the real, like, you're going to have to probably do some inner child work. You're going to probably have to do a little bit of shadow work. You're probably going to have to start to go back and kind of look at things. And it's about getting that fresh perspective. Remember, we read that Sabian symbol. So it's not completely one way or the other. You probably have created memories, and those memories may not actually be 100% accurate to how things actually happened. But maybe you created those memories as a means to protect yourself, right? Because maybe you had to protect yourself, but it's almost like a part of you split off in that moment. Now you have to go back and reclaim that aspect of yourself to actually finally get the healing that you need. And this is just how the week starts, so I haven't even gotten to like the rest of this week. But I wanted to hit on all 12 signs for this full moon, right? So Capricorn, definitely some childhood stuff that you got to work through. Maybe some self-forgiveness, maybe some forgiveness of others, and because it is impacting your relationships in a pretty big way, right? Sagittarius, this full moon's happening in your fifth house, aspecting this Mars, of course, here in the eighth for you. Yeah, this definitely has a lot to do with your relationships, your romantic life, your love life, and Mars in Cancer in the eighth. Yeah, Mars doesn't like to be in Cancer, but does like to be in the eighth. So, Sagittarius is you guys could be having maybe some issues with intimacy with the partner, and you're wanting to be more intimate. You're wanting to find the passion. You're wanting to find the attractiveness. You wanting to just see it there. There could be some issues when it comes to that as well, though. I think Sagittarius is you have to look at maybe you're looking at the partners that you picked in the past. You're like, I didn't really pick a great partner right there. Or I didn't just make. It's like you picked partners because you thought that they were going to be super exciting and fun, and maybe that ran out. Right, Jupiter is in your seventh house right now, right, opposing you. So it's like maybe the energy ran out, or maybe it just didn't turn out the way that you necessarily thought it would, and I think that's really what it comes down to, Sag. Some of you guys also may realize that the partner that you're with, or someone that you're with, maybe they aren't exactly your cup of tea. Maybe this individual some of you guys may find yourself feeling like you're with the wrong person. Now, I'm not telling people to break up or anything like that. I think Sagittarius are going to be going through some weird relationship stuff though with Jupiter in their seventh house and Mars in their eighth, because a lot of people don't like to think of the eighth house as having to do with relationships, but it most certainly does. It's intimacy is the eighth house, and shared resources, right? It's especially like when you move in with someone, that's very eighth house. So Sagittarius, let's just be real, Mars in Cancer too, doesn't like to be there. You have some weird home stuff with relationships and shared resources, and you have some weird stuff going on there, right? And with this full moon in your fifth house, you're wanting to feel the passion and you're wanting to feel the vigor for life and everything like that. You're wanting to feel something. You really are wanting to feel something. And I think a lot of Sagittarius are feeling flat right now. They feel flat. They feel flatter than a Coke bottle that's been open for 5 days without putting the cap on. You're just flat, Sag, and you're looking for some excitement. Now, don't do the Sag thing and go cheat, and don't do the Sag thing and go looking for fun in weird, dark places. Don't do that. You don't want to do that. But I think, Sag, this is coming down to, where can I be different? Because you don't want to necessarily. I think some Sagittarius are going to be having issues of attraction in their relationships. Sag Sun, Sag Risings, whatever, and or some of you guys are going to see someone that you're like really, really attracted to, right? That just like, but like I said, this is going to be one of those things where you have to like really be honest with yourself about, it's like, hey, I dated someone like that in the past and it didn't really go that well, and I know it's going to seem awesome and fun and exciting in the moment, but then these situations always turn out where the person may not be super reliable. Maybe they can't hold down a job. Sag, if you fall in love with someone, or if you go on a date and you really, really like someone, and you find out during that date that person has cheated on their last 3 partners, I don't care how hot they are, do not date this individual, because they're going to cheat on you too. Even if it's not immediate, maybe they'll cheat on you in 5-10 years. Just don't do it, okay? Like, you've gone down that road before, Sag. There's no need for you to do it again. But I know you feel flat, and that's the only way that you know how to get the fizz going. But you have to find another way to get the fizz going. You have to find another way to get the fizz going. And I think that's just something, Sag, you're going to have to look deep within yourself to figure out, where in the world can you find the edge and the excitement and the passion, and to be that badass, fun, jolly Sagittarius that we all know and love. But you can't blame other people. You can't point fingers. This is something that you are going to have to go within yourself and figure out. Scorpio. Yeah, this full moon's happening in your 6th house. Of course, Mars is over there in your 9th. This definitely has a lot to do with your day-to-day reality, as well as your beliefs around such things, right? So, Scorpio, it's kind of interesting with you, right? So, you want to be so independent all the time, You know, especially in the work that you do, whatever work that Scorpios choose, or whatever job that they choose, whether they end up working for someone or not, they just want to be independent. They want to be kind of left alone, and they want to be able to do things on their own. Scorpios will rarely ask for help. They will rarely ask for help, whether they are the boss. And this kind of there's a reason why a lot of Scorpios are very entrepreneurial. It's because of the sixth house and Aries. It's like they don't want to be told what to do. They rather just do it themselves. But a lot of times it may be harder for Scorpio to be able to potentially manage people because they will either be too like forceful with the Aries energy and will run people away, or they will take on too much on their own. That's what they're too aggressive with things and they end up running people away and end up being bad bosses and bad managers, or they will ironically pacify their crew by taking on so much of the work themselves because they rather just do it themselves. You have to learn the balance on how to like manage the people and to teach people and stuff. I'm talking about like people like Scorpios that are bosses. But in general, Scorpios, when it comes to like the day-to-day reality, whatever like that, you guys have to work alone. You guys have to be independent, right? There is some issues though when it comes to being independent. Scorpio, you have to learn how to work on a team. Scorpio, you can't take on everything by yourself. You have to learn how to delegate. Okay, you have to learn how to trust other people around you. And with Mars over there, of course, in your ninth house, you are dealing with a lot of issues and beliefs when it comes to, you know, your home, your sanctuary, your family. Scorpios are having a lot of like. I'm as a Scorpio, I can say that a lot of Scorpios have kind of are having like complicated emotions around family right now. And we'll say that, especially the beliefs in the family, whatever like that. And so that's the interesting thing about this too. So you know, I think Scorpio, you're having to release a lot of these inhibitions, a lot of these worries, doubts, fears with the Chiron here that your day-to-day reality. I think you wanted to. Oh, I think another thing too is that not only do you want to just kind of just be independent and stuff like that, you have to learn how to set like an actual like standard and schedule. You can't just go by the seat of your pants all the time. You can't just go random. You can't just throw things randomly at the wall and hope that it sticks. You actually have to have a bit more of a plan. You actually have to have a bit more of a plan, and I think that's the difficult part for Scorpio right now. Is that like now that they actually have to have a plan and they can't just do things just when they feel like it. You know, you actually have to kind of establish something for yourself, right? So it's hard for Scorpios to establish routines because of the Aries sixth house. It's hard for you to establish routines. The positive thing to that is that Scorpios will they can just work and work and work and work because they just have energy, right? That's the cool thing about a Scorpio is that like Scorpios can work long hours. They can just go, right? This is why they can oftentimes be bosses, or they may have like their own business, even if there's like a sole proprietorship or something like that. A lot of Scorpios would do that, and they'll work 12, 14, 16 hours seemingly like it's nothing, right? But you got to find that balance too, right? So I think that's really what it comes down to, Scorpio. You can't try and strong arm your way to the top, but you also can't, if you find yourself in a position of leadership, you can't pacify the people around you and take it on, because you still got to learn how to build them up as well. So that's what I know. I do that. I much rather would just do things myself instead of like, or teach someone and show them how to do something. As someone who's like a leader within my current job right now, it's like I have to learn to actually delegate instead of just do everything myself. But I will overwork myself. I will go to the bat for people. Like, as an example, one of the stores I was working at, someone was coming in looking for a particular product. We didn't have it. That product though was at another store that was a little bit further away, right? So I told this person, hey, I'll go get the product for you. Now, I've done this multiple times where I will drive 30 to 40 minutes for somebody and get the product and bring it back. I didn't bring it back that day, But I did go on a day where I was going to be back at the store, but the original intention wasn't to go in the opposite direction to my other store to grab the product. But that's what I did. I altered my schedule and I decided to go to this other store to grab the product and to bring it so this one person can have what she wanted. I didn't have to do that. I could have easily just had the store that actually had it mail it to her. But for some reason, I took the action, and I was like, oh, I'll just do it for you, And I've done that a lot, and it's sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes I find myself asking myself, why did I do that? Why did I go way out of my way to do that? That's the interesting thing about Scorpio, is that everyone thinks that Scorpio is like really selfish when it comes to the service that they provide, but they in many ways actually will go much further out of your way than you realize to actually help somebody or do something for somebody. So, anyways, little tidbit about Scorpio. Libra, this is going to be happening in your seventh house. This has everything to do with your relationships. Libra, I don't know who hurt you, but it's okay. All right, Libra, it's time to release. It's time to let go. It's time to finally let that person go. This Mars, of course, here in your 10th, it's kind of this relationship is it's impacting, your outlook. It's impacting in many ways how you move forward in your career and your legacy and how you build up. That's the interesting thing about Libra is that your 10th house is Cancer, right? So in many ways, it's like, the way that the world sees you, Cancer, because that's in many ways like the world kind of perceives and sees you, is through like in many ways your 10th house as these nurturers or these people that care and stuff. When Libra, you really are just trying to find that middle road or that middle path, and a lot of times Libras will be diplomatic and make deals even if they don't necessarily. Libras will make deals even if they don't necessarily like the person, right? But they'll do that just so they can get to where they need to get to, and then sometimes they'll be seen as people that really care a lot for people and nurture people, and they can, but they also, if it's Libra that's not necessarily in their most positive energy, they can be really fake and snarky and trying to find the middle ground and manipulate and kind of do that all the way up to the top. So, but right now you're having some definite things within relationships here that's going on, and you're going to have to release a lot of those insecurities when it comes to that, because it is going to affect the way that the world looks at you. Virgo, this is of course happening for you in your 8th house. That Mars of course is over there in your 11th. You're definitely Virgo, man. This is definitely probably it's going to be a little bit more on the psychological edge. When I think of psychology, I usually think of like the 8th house and stuff. It's going to bring about a bit of a psychological edge for the Virgos, with this being in your 8th house. There's also maybe some issues in the world of intimacy for you. And with Mars in that 11th house too, I think a lot of Virgos, you guys are kind of honestly, it doesn't take much for people to kind of set you off. I'm not gonna lie, Virgo. Like, it doesn't take much for you to just be kind of over people and just be frustrated with people. And this should just be the random people too. It doesn't take much for them to do that. So I think it's like, Virgo, you kind of have to go a little bit deeper and kind of look in your closet, kind of look in the den of the 8th house and kind of pull out, like, what is it about, the way that you express yourself and who you are with that Aries energy and the way that you act? What are some actions that, like, you can't just expect everyone to kind of, tiptoe around your sensitivities and stuff. And Virgo is not usually the one that needs to be tiptoed around. But with this kind of full moon in your 8th house, you definitely are going to be a lot more tiptoed around. But you're going to have to learn how to communicate how you feel. You're going to have to learn how to communicate how you feel. You're going to have to learn how to communicate how you feel from a way that's not going to be impulsive, that's not going to scare people away, that's not going to be super angry. You're going to have to learn how to kind of manage those hotter emotions this week. Leo, this is happening in your 9th house, of course, aspecting this Mars in your 12th. And For you, this is all about whether or not you even believe in yourself, right? This is whether or not you believe that you can be the badass Leo that you are. I think some of the insecurities and some of the traumas here with the Chiron there in the ninth house for you, this is like people that just maybe, people didn't believe in you, right? And them not believing you caused you to not believe in yourself, or caused you to doubt yourself, or doubt whether or not you are capable. Mars in your 12th house, definitely very, very spiritual, right? Definitely very spiritual. So it's like, Leo, you were put here for a purpose. You were put here to shine. You are a representative of the sun, because the sun rules, and it rules Leo and doesn't rule any other place. No other sign can say that besides Cancer, and Cancer it's with the moon, right? So it's like that. Yeah, they exalt in other places, but traditionally they don't rule anywhere else, right? Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini, right? Traditionally, Venus rules Libra and Taurus, right? Mars rules Scorpio and Aries, right? Jupiter rules Sag and Pisces. Saturn traditionally ruled Capricorn and Aquarius. So you and Cancer are the only ones that have one traditional ruler, right? And you're the sun. So some people just don't get that, right? You are going to annoy some people. You are not going to be some people's cup of tea. You are going to rub some people the wrong way. You are going to be too much for some people. You are going to be too bright for some people. Don't dim your light because you are too bright for some people. Just because they can't handle it, there's someone out there that loves you that can handle it, okay? Yes, Leo, you can definitely be very extra, but you kind of have to be extra, right? So don't doubt yourself and not believe in yourself just because other people don't believe in you, or other people maybe stopped believing in you. And I think that's what you're dealing with. It's not so much that you need all of this adoration, because everyone likes to think that Leo just needs all of this adoration and stuff like that. But there, out of all the other signs, there is a sort of like, you just love to party and you want to share that you want to share that love, you want to share that energy. You're the fifth house, right? You just want to share the love, right? So the more people the better, right? The more people the better. But it's like, I think for some of the Leos, you are feeling like there are less people overall. We're kind of revolving around you, and you don't know how to keep the party going with less people. You feel like more is better, right? I think this is about the quality of the people that are around you and the quality of the love that you are putting out is really what's going to be the big deal here. So yes, there are going to be some people that just don't believe in you and you're just not their cup of tea. That's okay. It's actually okay. Like it'll be okay, Leo. So, keep the party going. There's no need for you to stop the music, because the right people come in and out of our lives. So the right people will show up. Cancer, this is happening, and I'm getting close to done with this part. Cancer, this is happening in your 10th house. It's happening in your 10th house. So, yeah, this is, you're having to definitely overcome some stuff when it comes like your career, your purpose, your legacy, how you want to build your life up to. With the Chiron there, a lot of Cancers have changed jobs a lot. Just to be frank, you guys have changed jobs a lot. You have changed careers quite a few times. Maybe you try something and it didn't work out, or you try different jobs, stuff like that didn't work out. You're trying to find some sustainability when it comes to that. So, you're kind of having to release, and that's the thing too. Your 10th house is Aries, so sometimes it's a little bit harder for you to, you know, when it comes to work anyways, you kind of wear your emotions on your sleeve, and you kind of get a little bit impulsive and stuff like that, which can get you in trouble and stuff too. Mars is in your sign as well, so the temper tantrum that you're kind of throwing right now is just you being you. And that's like the weird thing about it, is that like, oh, Cancer, you're throwing a temper tantrum. It's like, my temper tantrum right now is just me being me. Like, I'm just being me. I think the problem is that if you haven't been authentic to who you are, you suddenly being you is going to come across as a temper tantrum, or is going to come across as you being fake, when that actually is who you are. So I think that's the interesting twist of fate here for the Cancers, is that like, you may actually start being who you really are, and it's going to throw people way the fuck off. Better late than never, though. It's better that you go ahead and get a handle on this now. Pluto is it's going to finish up in Capricorn over the next month or so, and will come into Aquarius, and you won't have to deal with it again. Well, not until it gets to Aries and it squares you. But we have a while before then. We've got a long time before then. So, for Cancers, just hold tight. It'll be okay. At least, it's like I said, it's interesting when it comes to that. And that's the other thing with the Cancers too, is that a lot of Cancers, similar to Scorpio, kind of work better when they are independent and stuff in a very interesting way. I think the problem with Cancer too, though, is that because the 10th house is Aries, they can get a little bit impulsive about their career and stuff like that. And it may be hard for them to kind of sustain actually building something, right? Because they'll start it and then they'll stop. They'll start it and then they'll stop. So you have to, you can't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore, Cancer. But if you're true to who you are and you show people who you really are and stuff like that, the people that are meant to be there will be there. The people that aren't meant to be there will not be there. It's as simple as that. Gemini, this full moon is happening in your 11th house, and it is, of course, aspecting this Mars. Of course, aspecting Jupiter in your sign, but I've been focusing on Mars for this because Mars is dispositing the moon, and the moon is dispositing Mars. So I'm kind of focusing on those two planets for these over the 12 signs. That's, of course, in your 2nd house. So for you, I think you have a wealth of emotions that need to be expressed, but you're kind of trapped in your head. So Gemini, it's literally just about you communicating how you feel. Like that's really what it comes down to. And there's a decompression because of Jupiter in your sign. So I feel like Geminis right now are kind of doing like this. They're doing like this heavy sigh right now, right? Because I think Gemini, you've been trying to stay pip and is trying to stay up, whatever like that, and trying to keep the energy going. But it's like, Gemini, you need to actually decompress a little bit. And there are so many things that are swirling up in this head of yours that need to finally be released and spoken out. You got to speak your truth. This is the 2nd house. 2nd house is natural by Taurus. Taurus rules the throat. So now, Gemini, don't go saying, we're probably going to see Gemini say some crazy ass shit this week, but it's going to be how they really feel. So pay attention to what Gemini say. Like Gemini Sun, Gemini Rising, pay attention to what they say because they are going to be speaking how they actually feel, how they truly actually feel, right? So it's time for you to kind of get out of your head and kind of get things out. Now, if it helps for you to channel that by writing it out and not just blurting it out like word vomit, some Geminis are going to be doing word vomit. They're just going to be like, bleh. Or like I said, it might be good to just kind of write things out, but definitely Gemini, do not just keep it trapped up in your head. You have to actually speak it. You have to tell people how you truly feel. You actually have to go into the emotion a little bit. So, Taurus, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. Mars, of course, is over here in your 3rd. Taurus, you are having to release this. It's a spiritual ego, I feel like, for the Tauruses, right? Since your 12th house is Aries, and Aries is like this spark, inspiration, independent, fiery, impulsive. It's the ram. That's your 12th house. So you're having to do a lot of cleanup when it comes to who you are. I think you've kind of have probably put who you are in the closet a little bit, or like it's in the clouds or a little bit and stuff. So it's like Taurus is like, sometimes you'll just lay around and you'll be like, oh, well, this is who I am. Sometimes Tauruses can be workaholics, but they also just really, really appreciate like their leisure time. Tauruses really appreciate their leisure time. They love nothing more, 4th house Leo, to just be at home and to just chill, eating their favorite foods or drinking their favorite drinks and watching their favorite shows. That's all Taurus ever wants to do, truthfully. So But with this full moon and Chiron in the 12th, especially finishing up that cycle of the new moon solar eclipse that we had in Aries back in April, too, because that cycle is in many ways coming to its completion point. Generally, a lot of the energy gets cut off with the next new moon, right? But because it's a new moon in Aries, it's the full moon in Aries, that's like a 6 month cycle, then that energy is being cut off. So for you, this is definitely going to be much more spiritual. This is definitely going to be much more like you're going to have to, maybe do some meditation, Taurus. Mars, of course, here is in your third. So it's kind of similar to Gemini. You definitely do have to speak on your emotions a little bit more. Gemini, it was going to be more so they're going to be speaking on the things that they truly value, right? Because it's the second house. For you, you really just got to get these things out of your head and just actually like communicate, right? But also because this is the third house, this is dealing with like your peripheral and your surroundings, if you will, right? So I think for Tauruses, look at your surroundings. Look at your surroundings. Your surroundings are a direct reflection of your spiritual state right now, and your spiritual state of mind. If you are living in clutter, that means that your spirit is feeling cluttered right now. That means that your soul is feeling cluttered. That means that there's something that needs to be cleaned up, right? And so I would say look at your surroundings, and that's going to tell you pretty much everything that you need to know about what your spirit is trying to tell you right now. It's going to tell you. It's going to be whatever representation. Like I said, if it's a little bit cluttered, then you probably have a bit of a cluttered mind and it's cluttering your spirit and you're not able to really manifest properly. If you're in a job and, like say you're in a job and maybe your boss is a raging asshole or something like that and you just kind of deal with it, well, shoot, there's probably some weird reflection where you're kind of being an asshole to yourself as well. So as I said, it's always going to be a reflection back on the self because this is 12th house Aries. It's always going to be a reflection back on the self. And the third house, Gemini, is that reflection point. It's the twins, right? So it's like Tauruses, you can be playing the blame game a lot here, but you really can't do that because everything's going to be a reflection on you. So if if you're a boss there's a bit of an asshole, whatever like that, there's probably a bit of that asshole within you as well. That's something that you want to work on. Maybe if you stop being an asshole to yourself, maybe your boss will stop being an asshole, or your surroundings may change. Maybe they get transferred to another place, another division. But that's really what it's going to come down to, towards look at your surroundings and see what is the message in your surroundings. And that's pretty much the full moon for all the 12 signs. I know I took like a good bit of the time on that alone, but I felt like it was necessary. So, now as well on this 17th of Thursday, and that's just like the first part of the day with the full moon. Well, you'll see the moon will actually shift into Taurus, so that's going to be nice. It does make a quincunx over to Venus before it actually shifts as well, because you'll see Venus and the moon quincunxing at 29 degrees, which means that the moon's also going to be in square to Pluto, and Venus will be in sextile to Pluto before this moon shifts into Taurus. But actually looks like Venus will shift technically first, so they actually are going to make the quincunx at the 0 point, which is actually pretty freaking wild. So yeah, Venus will be at 0, and then that moon will be at 0. So the moon's going to be exalted in Taurus. Venus is going to be coming out of its detriment in Scorpio, which is kind of nice too. So, or out of its fall. Oh yeah, it's detriment. It's in detriment in Scorpio. So we're going to see that interesting shift right there, just right after the full moon. It's going to be around 4:01 p.m. or so. And even though Venus is now out of Scorpio, it's still not very, very strong. It's at a -5, but the moon at least will be at +4. So the moon is at +4 and Saturn is at +2. So the moon is in Taurus and Saturn, of course, is in Pisces, right? This is letting me know that this is all about emotional fortitude. It's also about spiritual integrity, right? So let me close that and then I'll bring that back over here. Yeah. So they're going to shift pretty much at the same time. We'll see that moon hit Taurus, right, on this day. We're also, of course, and that's pretty much. Oh, I'm still in minutes. That's pretty much Thursday. So massive full moon. Definitely check it out for your sign. I'll put the timestamps as well in, but definitely a massive day on this Thursday, um, especially compared to Wednesday. Just kind of kicking off this whole thing with a bang. Now, when we move into the 18th, we're not going to really see a ton of stuff happen on this day. We're going to see, of course, this moon make an opposition to Mercury here at 7 degrees. Now, of course, this is happening pretty early in the morning, so in Europe, you'll probably feel this a little bit more in your waking day. Here in America, most people will be asleep unless you're on the East Coast, and you may be waking up for work around this time, who knows? But we'll see that moon make the opposition to Mercury. But the main thing that people are going to be feeling on this day is that moon that's going to be in sextile to this Saturn. And remember, these are the planets that are actually the strongest right now. Now, what's interesting about this sextile is that it actually does make an aspect over to this black moon Lilith. So we actually are going to get this temporary yod in the sky between the moon, Saturn, and black moon Lilith, right? Now, what I say? Moon, it's exalted in Taurus, so it feels really, really good here. But this is definitely about like, when you are feeling your worth, when you are feeling your value, that's when you feel the best. Is when you know your worth and you know your value. Saturn here in Pisces, of course, is testing our spiritual integrity and whether or not we can trust in the divine timing of things. It's all about divine timing. But the quincunx over the Black Moon Lilith in Libra is interesting because that's definitely going to be, predicate. That's definitely going to be feeding on like our fears within our relationships and the balance and harmony that we see in life, but also even the fairness. So I think the Friday's going to be a day where it's like if you're feeling like things are just unfair and uneven, then you have to learn how to trust in the divine timing of things, and you have to be able to, know your own worth. I think that's what it comes down to. Is like, what can you do? Where is your worth? Where is your value? Why don't be so concerned about the lack of and not having other stuff? And yeah, the world's unfair. The world's unfair. The world is unbalanced a lot of the times. I think this insatiable need that some people have to make the world completely even and completely equal is actually very dangerous. It's actually very, very dangerous. Natural things will happen. Water will rise and fall. Things will naturally balance out on their own. This need to overly control it, especially when Saturn deals with control, but it's retrograde in Pisces. This is not something that we can control. This is something that is divine timing. This is something that's fated. This is something that we have to put our trust in the universe and put our trust in God. But what we can do is know our worth and know our value. Then these fears that we have with the Black Moon Lilith and Libra, they will fade away and we will realize that they were not that big of a deal. But it's going to feel tough. It's going to be weird. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be weird. Although it's going to be temporary. We're not going to feel this for too long, right? But that's the main thing that's happening on this Friday is that yod. Because we'll see as the moon makes its way, it's not really going to aspect anything else on the day. Venus is now fully clicked into Sagittarius here at 1 degree. And of course, we do have that Sun Pluto square building in intensity. We also, of course, are just going to start to see that Sun make the quincunx over to Uranus. So that's going to be October 19th. Let's take a look at that. We have this quincunx to Uranus that's going to be happening on this day. And it does apex in its exact a little earlier in the day. So, I mean, if you're in Europe, you're going to be feeling this a lot more. But it does apex a little bit earlier. That being said, we are still going to be feeling this. That moon in Taurus will sextile over to Mars at 23 degrees here, which can definitely open up some I look at sextiles as opportunities. So this can definitely open up an opportunity for us to not only know our worth and feel into our worth, but to take some sort of action about it, even if the situation may not be fully comfortable in the way that we want it to look like. It's like knowing our worth and knowing our values, like, yeah, I can do that thing. I could take that thing on. I may not necessarily have all the experience, but, or I may not necessarily have the exact experience or maybe the exact, I guess, reference point for doing something, but I believe in my abilities and I'm confident that I can actually see this through. So that's not sort of the thing. Maybe you're given a task by someone at work, or maybe you give yourself a task and you wonder, like, can I actually do this? It's like, well, yeah, I can. I think it's about whether or not you believe in yourself and you believe in your abilities. But it's sort of one of those things. It's like just because you haven't tried something doesn't mean that you can't do it, right? What's interesting, of course, about this is that that sun, like I said, is still in quincunx to that Uranus, and we will see the moon join up with this quincunx as well. So we're going to feel a lot more into this. Now we're going to be feeling a lot more into it from the Uranus aspect of it. So I think emotionally, we're going to be, maybe concerned about other people, what other people think as well with Uranus and Taurus, and what other people's values may be. But then our spirit is more so concerned over here in the Libra aspect of things as well. And it's also coming at it from a little bit more of a trying to find balance, trying to find harmony way, but it's doing it in a different way. And of course you can see here now that we have this other yod that's forming here. So the moon's involved with multiple yods, because now it's going to be with Uranus, Neptune, and the Sun. So this Saturday and Sunday starts another yod, and the weekends have been where the big transits have been happening. The weekends have been where a lot of the things was like, pay attention, because this is where a lot of the energy has been. Outside of this full moon that starts the week, a lot of the stuff has been happening on the weekend. A lot of it's been happening on the weekend. So we'll see as that moon is going to come off of that yod and stuff. But it's going to be there for like the first part of the day. And I think that's just, like I said, it's pointing towards this 26 degrees of Libra. And, I really do feel like, we're still trying to find the balance and the harmony of things, trying to find where there can be some peace, or where there can be some even level playing field, or this could be the moment where people are like, especially with Neptune and Pisces too, it's like people are going to be like potentially like losing it. I mean, I think of drugs when I think of the Pisces energy with Neptune here. This also, because it's Uranus, this can be dealing with cult like behavior. I'm not gonna lie. This can be dealing with people getting their whole identity from a group and not being able to identify whether or not this is something that is actually beneficial for them. And maybe they're doing this because they feel like it is going to bring some sort of balance and harmony to the world. Maybe they're doing this because they feel like it is going to bring some type of, equality per se. I do want to read, though, because the sun's at 26 degrees, I do want to read that Sabian symbol, because I'm interested to see what that has to say. So let's do that. Let's do Libra 26 degrees. All right, cool. So all right, let's see what we got here. An airplane sails high in the bright, clear sky. This symbol shows the ability to transcend strife and rise above issues. You can feel above situations and are being carried away and beyond the mundane towards something completely new. You can sail above issues and avoid more everyday down-to-earth problems. Having a calm objective and somewhat detached way of observing life reveals a lot to you. Don't, however, get so far above things that you feel removed entirely from what's really going on in reality. This won't help you when you need to employ practical solutions or have a need to really deal with life and its ramifications. Transcending difficulties, optimism that knows no bounds, having a bird's eye view, airplanes, birds, flights, roller coaster rides, the need for navigation, objectivity. Difficulty seeing the details of what's going on, escape from reality, Neptune, running out of fuel, egoism, playing with gravity, disconnection from the world. I think that's what I've pretty much been trying to say. Is I feel like with this yacht, people are going to be trying to disconnect because maybe they're not able to deal with the world from that angle. I think it's about having that cool, kind of calm demeanor that can look at things from a bird's eye view, but you don't want to get so stuck in the clouds that you can't connect to people. That's the Uranus aspect in Taurus too. You don't want to get so cold that you can't connect to people, and you can't, even. And I think it's because people want to connect on every single issue. I think people want to connect on every little dot. It's like if I don't know. It's like they want to connect on every single dot. It's like, say if you have 100 dots, and these dots are representations of your personality and your likes and your dislikes and your beliefs, and someone else has 100 dots and it's the same thing. It's like people want like a 100% match. That's not going to happen. It never happens. But don't throw the entire baby out with the bathwater if you're at like a 90 or an 80. That's really good, right? So I think that's what it comes down to. It's like people are like, not all the dots are connecting. They're not all going to connect. And that's okay, right? Or you're not going to be good at everything. You're not going to be the best at everything. This is where teamwork makes the dream work. But if you the way that you want to remove yourself from looking at the day-to-day reality is through trying to escape through some type of drug or alcohol or whatever like that. That's not going to really be helpful here, right? But it's about, trying to be more impartial, I guess you could say, towards everything. Libra, like I said, represents the scales, and it usually is showing someone, at least the Justice card, is someone who's like blind and they're holding the scales. So they're going off of the feeling of things, of the scale, right? So you have to somehow be impartial when it comes to that. But you still don't want to be so disconnected from the day-to-day reality that you can no longer connect with anybody as well. So you got to be able to find that balance and stuff. So interesting. So, but as we continue throughout this Saturday, we'll see that quincunx to the Sun. We'll, of course, see it sextile over to Neptune with that yod. We will see it make a a trine over to Pluto. Probably, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the last moon in Taurus trine Pluto, if I'm not mistaken, because I think the next time that the moon is going to be over here. Oh, wait, no, we'll get one more. We get one more of these. So that's cool. Anyways, let me go back. So we'll get one more of these trines, which is kind of cool. And then it'll enter into Gemini. Oh, wait, not a month. If you guys can hear that buzzing, that's actually my phone ringing. So I'm about to call that person back. It's my dad. I'm going to call him back. So anyways, the moon's going to shift into Gemini, and as soon as it hits Gemini, it's going to make an opposition to Venus. And that's going to happen later in the night, too. This is definitely going to be an interesting one, too. Saturday night, especially with the moon in Gemini, people are going to definitely want to kind of go out and do fun things and be out and about and stuff. But with Venus and Sagittarius, oh, man, people are going to be shooting from the hip. And let's just be honest, like the moon's at +3 and Venus is at -5, so it's gonna be like, I can definitely see this is just like, these can definitely just be hookups that people will probably do throughout the week and stuff, or throughout this weekend. Would not be surprised if we just see people randomly hooking up, but that Sun is still in Libra, and it's still in this yod with Neptune and Uranus, and it's still squaring Pluto. So I would say to definitely be careful with this if you're hooking up with people, because they may get pregnant. I'm not even fucking joking with you. When you have a T-square with Mars and Pluto and like Pluto, of course, is definitely dealing with like the responsibilities and stuff like that, and you know, accountability. And then Mars is in Cancer. Yeah, no. With the Moon opposed Venus, like yeah, this is definitely gonna be like, you know, some people are gonna get pregnant with this energy, you know, like so. Just want to be careful about who you go out and who you you know, go home with that night. You know, just be careful about that sort of stuff. Um, because it's stuff people are gonna, especially with Venus and Sag, just gonna wanna receive like the fun and the excitement and everything like that. That's where we are with Venus and Sagittarius, right? So it's definitely gonna be an interesting Saturday. I'm gonna be off on Saturday, and I'm probably gonna be making another video. To be fair, so um, it could be a night for doing something fun, you know. Maybe it'll be a good day to like go out on like a date or something like that. I understand that for people that are single, that are like going to the club or going to like a bar or something like that. Just be careful, you know. Just be careful, you know. That's all I'm gonna say. Moving into Sunday. Moving into Sunday. Um, doesn't seem like a ton is happening here. I think the biggest day of the weekend is Saturday. Well, we will see the sun officially make the quincunx over to Neptune here at 27 degrees. We're also going to see this moon. It's going to actually quincunx this Mercury here at 10 degrees. And it's also going to square Saturn on this day, right? So, like I said, this could be you dealing with, you know, dealing with the ramifications of the night previous, and you know whether or not you're responsible or not. And I think that's going to be, you know, that's going to be kind of the key thing, you know, whether or not you were responsible and you didn't just let your, um, you know, emotions get the best of you, or, you know, maybe some of these other desires try to like overtake you and stuff like that. I think some people are going to be waking up Sunday and be like, oh my God, what did I do the night previous? And there's some people going to be like, thank God I didn't go that hard in the paint, you know? So it's definitely an interesting thing with this Sunday. But that's it as far as like the major aspects of this particular day is really said the moon making those. And then, like I said, we have some strengthening energy. We see Chiron's finally come off that 21st degree, but we do have the sun Pluto square that is strengthening, that we will see, of course, coming to its apex on the following Tuesday. Now, as we move, of course, into Monday, we're going to see that moon finally conjunct Jupiter here at 21 degrees, right? Still in sextile to Chiron, but it's damn near exact. 2105 and then 2054, so it's damn near exact that this is still happening here. But we're going to see the moon finally meet up with that Jupiter. It's also going to square Neptune on this day, and it's going to trine the sun before it moves its way into Cancer. So Monday is going to be a day all about the moon and all about what the moon's doing and how it's going through things. But also, except we are still building up to that sun square Pluto, which is where where it kind of just ends off. Now, I want to fast forward to the trine that we're going to see, because we can see that Mercury is now at 13 degrees of Scorpio. We have Saturn here at 13 degrees of Pisces. Now the moon is going to be shifting into Cancer on this Tuesday, and this is happening while the sun is in square to Pluto, right? So we're going to see, technically, Mercury is going to hit 14 degrees before the moon can even get to this point. But we can see that this trine is already starting to build, this grand water trine. Like I said, this is kind of going back to this moment here where it's like we have to learn how to accept the healing in this moment, because, like I said, this sun square Pluto is the boss battle that's going to be like, oh man, like you're underprepared probably, right? But I think this could be the moment where you kind of get the test, like you actually get the teachers like handing out the exam, and you're like, oh shit, did I study for this? Am I ready for this? Yes. Hopefully, yes. And you can accept where you are right now, accept that what you have right now, what you have experienced, where you are right now is exactly where you need to be and exactly where God has you at this moment, right? So we don't always get grand water trines. And so this can be very healing, especially for the way that we feel into this. Moon, it likes to be in Cancer. Mercury in Scorpio is definitely bringing about a psychological edge to this. And Saturn is in Pisces, which is about trusting in the timing of things. So I feel like, especially with the sun, of course, is going to shift into Scorpio, pretty much during this grand water trine. Talk about an incredible healing moment for all of us. This can be an incredible moment of healing, but we also have to be honest with ourselves. We also have to trust in the timing of the universe and trust in the timing of God. We have to know that even if things don't feel completely comfortable right now, we have to be communicate the way you feel, communicate your emotions. You got to talk it out. You can't just keep it trapped in your head. But this does bring about a psychological edge because this is Scorpio. So these emotions are going to be a little bit heavier, a little bit icier, a little bit deep, a little bit more. It's going to have a lot more depth. This is not surface level shit, especially now that the sun has shifted into Scorpio and is giving this Mercury even more power. So do not go into this Tuesday trying to suppress these emotions, because this grand water trine is going to allow you to undergo some massive healing and transformation. This is the healing hands, right? Are you going to accept this, though? And I feel like this is just the universe and God. It's like, are you going to accept this? I know. I sent you to that dungeon and you got worked, okay? You got worked. But you're still here, right? You're still here. You're still alive, right? Yes, you weren't strong enough in that moment to beat the boss. But that doesn't mean that you can't be strong enough. That doesn't mean that you can't. Doesn't mean that you throw the towel. Doesn't mean that you give up. Doesn't mean that you surrender in that way. No, you surrender to the divine. You surrender to trusting that, there is a greater plan. And I know this part of it probably sounds much more traditionally religious, but I kind of combine the two because while I'm not Christian, I do believe in God, and I do believe that there are moments where we really do have to surrender and just trust that things are going to work out. I think a lot of times as humans, we like to try and play God so much, and we like to try and strong arm our way into things so much. But there are times where we have to just literally just you know what, I got to trust in the divine plan. You know what, I got to trust that there's something greater that knows more than I do, right? I think our role in this, what we do is that when we get the message, we actually listen, right? We actually listen. And yeah, it may not be necessarily comfortable. And I think some people's egos are going to be so big to where they can't admit to where they've gotten beaten, where they have faults, where they have scars. But this is no time to try and, be the big hero. This is no time to try and, show that you just have you just got it and you have all this moxie and nothing can hurt you and nothing can harm you. This is not the time for that. This is time to admit, man, I've been through some shit. I've taken some hits. I've taken some damage, but I'm not giving up. But I do need some healing right now. And I think that's really what this is going to be, a time of humility. This is going to be a time of, just honesty and acceptance that, yes, I'm a bit damaged. I have been through it a little bit, but you don't just play the victim either here. God doesn't want us to play the victim. God doesn't want us to play the victim. The whole victim currency thing is losing its luster. It's losing its shine. It's not as valuable as it was. And you can already start to see that tide start to shift. But it's okay to admit to when we failed or where we were at fault, or it's okay to admit to where, I should have been more accountable there. But allow this grand water trine to heal you. And like I said, there's a deeper edge with this Mercury here in Scorpio. right? Especially as it's an investigator. Mercury and Scorpio is an investigator, right? So that's the thing about this. Whether you like it or not, whether you are personally investigating your emotions and why you feel the way that you feel, or it somehow comes out through conversations and someone else is trying to dig and trying to figure it out, it's going to happen. Or it may happen through your dreams, right? It's going to happen. So there's no real need to suppress this, because now we're in Scorpio season and now everyone is having to transform and go through that Phoenix rising moment. So let's go ahead and draw some cards for everybody. So I appreciate you guys so freaking much. I have admittedly been kind of feeling, it feels weird honestly doing only the one video a week. That's why I want to do some more content and stuff. I just have to not be lazy about it, I guess. It's not like I don't have it's not like I haven't had time, but also like I get so busy with my day job that a lot of times when I come, I don't really want to do anything else. And then on my days off, I don't want to do anything. So I gotta dig deep, find that energy and stuff like that, honestly, because it's not like I don't enjoy this, because I definitely do. But it has felt weird. It has felt a little bit off. Something has been kind of amiss. I think we all have something that's kind of amiss and it's a little bit off that we have to kind of address, I don't think we have to do anything super drastic either. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's about doing anything super drastic. But with that full moon in Aries, people are definitely going to be wanting to feel more drastic. And we got the Ten of Swords right here. We got the Ten of Swords. Actually, I think it's reverse. Yeah, it's reverse, So, yeah, I think some people are going to be shooting for the stars and trying to reach for the sun, and then their wings are going to melt, and they're going to crash into the ocean. They're going to be like, what the fuck happened? And it's like, hey, gotta get brought down a peg or two, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I think there's going to be some people are going to have some like rude awakenings this week and stuff like that. So, doesn't mean it's all bad though. It does not mean it's all bad. It's actually very liberating. You're human too. Exactly. Thank you. Yes, we're all human. I think some people expect themselves to be robots and drones. We're all human. They're trying to make us not human. They're trying to dramatic, right? They're trying to make us not human. I think that's one of the biggest issues is that they're trying to make people not human anymore. Some weird human robot AI hybrid thingy. And I'm not afraid of AI. I use AI, but it's like people can't think for themselves anymore. I have the Six of Pentacles. I love this card because while this card does talk about like giving and charity and those sort of things, and this one it's like they're all playing music. So for me, this is like that step above the Three of Pentacles where it's like you find a team and you're building something. This is like when you're making music, so I love that. So this is about like, yeah, find the music in your life. Find the people that make the beautiful music in your life, whether you're actually making music or just as that metaphor, if you will, right? So it's like you gotta find the people that you can come together with and you can share that good time with. You can make that music. You can be intentional about it, and realize that, you don't have to do it all alone either. That's the thing about this. You don't have to do this all alone. You're not all alone. I think that's the other part about this. I think some people are feeling very, very lonely. And it's like, no, you're not lonely. Well, maybe you are lonely, but you're not alone, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You're not alone. But I think if we're so busy trying to connect on every single little dot with someone, then yeah, you're going to feel alone. But once you realize that you're not supposed to, you can appreciate the wider range of how people can be in this world and stuff, and the wide range of experiences. Like me and my wife, we don't agree on everything. We don't have all the same interests. I think we like to fantasize that having all the same interests and all the same beliefs as someone is going to be like the perfect relationship. No. if anything, those are the relationships that fall faster than anything else. I do have the Five of Cups upright. I think some people are kind of feeling trapped. You know, you have these dudes in business suits, and you have this other guy here in the palm of this dude's hands, and he's feeling trapped emotionally. And I think with the Five of Cups too, it's like, I call it the crying over spilled milk card, but in this deck, it's about feeling controlled by our so-called handlers, or they, you know, the people that rule the world and stuff. And I think a lot of people are feeling rather trapped, like they can't do anything about it, you know. Well, we have the Nine of Swords upright too, so I think it's about he's reaching out, he's reaching his hand out. It's like, yes, the city around him is destroyed, it's dilapidated, and you know, maybe he went to that boss battle and it didn't quite go out the way that he thought, and maybe there's some fears and some anxieties and worries about it, but there's a hand that's being reached out. Are we going to reach out? Are we going to accept? You know, are we going to accept it? You know, or are we just going to sit there with our hands in our knees and just be woe is me? You know, so this lets me know that there's actually a solution. There's actually going to be a solution that we find. And I have the Seven of Wands in reverse. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, we're preparing to kind of fight this demon, or maybe we already fought this demon, or this thing, this monster, if you will. But this is in reverse. So it's like, you know, this is, we're kind of, like I said, we're kind of going into the battlefield. But it's like, you don't have to go right back in immediately. You can take your time with this. You don't have to rush right into it. You don't have to feel like you have to defend yourself all the time. I think this is about coming out of defense mode and always like reacting and always being on the reaction aspect of things. And we got to be more proactive, I think, now. We have to be more proactive in our life. And you know what? Maybe some of the things that we want to be proactive on, which maybe are like the bigger, more ideological kind of things or idealistic sort of things, maybe we can't do any things there. But we can be a little bit more proactive in our day-to-day reality and the things that we can control, the things that we can do. So instead of always just being on the back foot, reacting to everything, it's about being proactive here. I'm going to get one more card. I do have the Six of Swords in reverse. The answer is not some faraway place. The answer is closer to home. There's no running away from this. There's no escaping this. This is something that is closer to home. It's not... Some people are going to be some people are going to need to get cold feet this week and want to run away and want to escape. And I promise you, your problems are just going to find you. They're just going to follow you no matter where you go, because they are tied to your soul. They are tied to your karma. It doesn't matter how far away you run, they will come and find you. It's like a parachute that's attached to you, like those runners that have the parachutes on them, and then they try to run, and it's like resistance training and stuff like that. That's what it is. So it's just going to, and that's kind of the interesting way to look at it, is that it is resistance training. So it's like when you drop those problems, you can run faster, right? But so it's like we have to look at the problems not as like something that's just like inherently a bad thing, but something that is there for our growth and our development, and for something that's going to make us stronger. But if you're constantly just trying to run away from it and not actually like addressing the issue, then you're never going to actually get stronger, and you're just going to always experience the same issue over and over and over again. So there's no running away from it with the Six of Swords in reverse. There's no hopping on a boat and, you know, cruising away from the situation and running away from it. The answer is not way out there in some other place. It's a lot closer to home. So, and I'll get one of these oracle cards too. Ooh, do you believe in magic? Yep. Magic, magic, magic. I love this. Do you believe in magic? Do you believe in possibilities? Do you believe in genies? Maybe we make a wish this week. Maybe with that shrine, that grand water shrine, maybe you write down 3 wishes. Maybe you write down 3 wishes. I don't know, that could be a fun practice. Write down 3 wishes. They could be anything. They could be big or small, but maybe you just write down 3 wishes and you put it in like a box somewhere and you forget about it. Or maybe you light it on fire and just let it go into the ethers or something like that. But, you know, I think this could be a good week to kind of practice some magic. Maybe some practical magic and stuff. I think that's what I might do with that grand water shrine. Just write some stuff down that, you know, I kind of want, or, you know, fancy, and see what happens with it. but you also have to be intentional and follow up. You can't just use the magic and cast a spell, so to speak, and not actually follow up by being proactive and by taking some sort of action. So, but it does give, like, I do think that the week, while difficult and challenging in some areas, can provide an incredible amount of growth and opportunity for us to really take things to the next level if we really wanted to. So, but that's going to do it for your weekly astrology horoscope, cosmic convergence acceptance. Yeah, it's a big one, right? I really do think it's a final week of Libra, ending off with a freaking bang, going into Scorpio season, Act 4. It's gonna be a wild ride for sure. But that's going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy this, of course, like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch and listen. But y'all take care, stay blessed, have a wonderful week, beloved. And I'll see you all on the next video. Peace. I guess when I do that, freaking confetti falls from the sky. So nice. Peace out.